Learn the essential skill stacking hacks that I'm going to teach you today and learn how to earn more money while working less. Stay tuned. Hey, Frank Thomas here from Wealth Generation Strategies, and today we're going to be talking about a topic called skill stacking. I actually, to be bluntly honest with you, never knew this expression existed until I started looking it up. The original title for this video was going to be called The Stepping Stones of Life. I know, not very exciting, but it's the same thing. Skill stacking really is the art of stacking one skill on top of another. What happens is, as we learn a thing, we can learn a new thing and stack that on top. Over time, we become an expert in our area of interest. Truthfully, this video came from somebody who left a comment on one of my shorts, and they said, oh, if you're in information technology, you can make 100,000, but nobody else can. This video is unrealistic, etc., etc., etc. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. You can make 100,000 or more in just about any trade on the planet, but you have to be very smart on how you make steps in your career. And back to skill stacking. So let's dig into this. This is a tactic I'm going to be teaching you from my own personal experience. To give you testimony, have went from earning, in today's money, $35,000 a year to well over $200,000 a year and more. I've actually, in 1 year, I made close to $500,000 with a product I designed. Now that was a bit of an anomaly at that time, but I'm gonna reproduce that anomaly, and I'll be sharing that with you on this channel in the future, so make sure you subscribe. Little hint. Everything I'm teaching you here is relevant, and I've put it into practice what I'm getting at. So I believe it's things that are gonna help you get to 100,000 and exceed that amount in crazy proportions. And I truly believe that. And until you believe that, you are not going to be able to do it. Just a little hint. So let's get started. It's always important to be looking at not your career as a whole. I remember when my kids were growing up, I used to get this complaint, well, Dad, how am I supposed to know what I'm going to be for the rest of my life? And that is a valid concern. And I honor that concern because of the fact that they're right. It's something that when I was growing up, I kind of knew what I wanted to be. Right from the beginning, I knew at 14, I really wanted to program. What did that look like? Did I have all the steps lined up? No, absolutely not. But I knew overarchingly, I wanted to be a programmer one day. Took me a long time to get there, and I'll be honest about that too. I did a bit of a detour in life, and we all do these detours in life, but it's important to get back on track. My point here though is, know what your next step is gonna be. You're only gonna know what your next step is gonna be by looking at where you're at and looking at where you can step next. Hence why I like the title, Stepping Stones of Life. Know where you're gonna be next. Now this is where the whole idea of skill stacking comes in. Let's say when I was a young guy, I wasn't earning very much. I was working minimum wage, about $35,000 a year in today's money, and I wanted to earn more. I could have complained and said, oh, well, you know, as a security guard, I'm not gonna earn blah, 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 blah. And you know something? I'm 100% right, but I'm also 100% wrong. We're just not made to do a simple thing. We are a very complex being, and we can learn tremendous skill sets if we give ourselves half a chance. Now, I'm not gonna argue out of extremes. Yes, there are some people who are physically or mentally retarded and they're unable to, and they're an exception to the rule. They're not the rule, is what I'm getting at here. So look at your horizon. And what can you do next? In my situation, I was just a security guard. Now, could I earn $100,000 as a security guard? Maybe, but I probably have to run the company. Didn't really want to do that. That was not really my passion. So what did I do next? I went and got my license as a truck driver. That's the step that I could see at that time. I dropped out of college as a young man and couldn't get back into college because I'd left home, and going back to school full time and trying to support my living and everything else became an impossible task for me at that time. So I had to find a different way to accomplish my goals. And that was, in my limited scope and in my limited vision in life, I saw that, you know, well, if I learned how to drive a truck, I can earn maybe let's say $45,000 a year. So I'm going to jump at least $10,000 a year in today's money, of course. Maybe more, maybe $50,000 a year. So that's what I did. I went and got my trucker's license, and I did that for a year or so, a couple years. And eventually I wanted to go back and finish my education. Now, the only avenue that I could see was to join the military. I did take a big salary cut at that point in time for a while, but I knew that it was allowing me to finish my electronics training and get my certifications. And I did it through the military, which was fine. It's an acceptable course of action. At that time, that's what I could see. That was my next step. Then next, I went and progressed, and while I was in the military, got involved in computers. Eventually, to make a long story short, I had kind of done full circle and became a programmer. And now I'm earning the big bucks, so to speak. So the important point here there was to always look at what your next step is and start to skill stack. Start taking and building skills. You're an intelligent person. I am not going to take anything less than to say to you, you are an intelligent person and you can do these things in life, but you have to commit yourself to them. The worst thing that can jump into our lives is doubt and fear. Make sure you watch my fear video. It's a good one. Don't allow that to happen. Get those skill sets. Now, what's going to happen is commit yourself to learn enough to get you in the door in the next thing that you want to do. It might actually mean you got to get that driver's license. I had to get that driver's license or that certification. There's been times in my career where I've had to get certifications to be able to get in to the company, but I got what I needed to get in. Now, once I was in, I started building my expertise and my experience with that company. Always determine and continue determining what you're doing. Is it the right thing? You have to realize when I eventually got into the realm of computers, I'd left the military by now, and I was working with companies in my home city here. I was working more as a systems person, and I was looking at what I was doing, and I kept feeling a dissatisfaction, and it was kind of a dissatisfaction I couldn't put my thumb on, so to speak, in life. But I knew that I still wasn't really doing exactly the right thing. So always continue to determine if you're doing the right thing as you're moving forward. This will help you build discernment and to decide what your next step is, okay? Continue to educate yourself and teach or lead if you can. It's always really good to allow yourself to move into positions of teaching or leading. And I'm not saying go become a teacher, but once you start teaching, you got to really kind of know your stuff. And people will also see when you lead or teach that you are an expert in what you do, and it will help you raise your salary once again. Okay, don't get complacent. That's a side note. So continue to educate yourself. Work towards becoming the true expert in the skill or venture that you're working in. I want you to further specialize and become part of the top 1%. I'm not talking the top 10%, the top 1%. Determine what your 1% looks like where you're at and become part of that group. Do what you got to do to become that. And it could take you a little bit of time at times. Don't waste time. Don't make it an en route here. I didn't say this was a journey where you just arrive. This is a journey that continues. And I'm going to be digging into the final point in my bonus. And you got to stay tuned for that, because this is what makes this all work and shows you how you can earn more money working less. So make sure you stay tuned. Are you enjoying this video? Be sure to subscribe. I love it when I see people subscribe. I'm here to help you. I'm going to have a lot of great stuff coming out. I'm going to be talking about bringing products to market to add multiple streams of income into your portfolio, things like that in the future. And you're going to follow along. You're going to watch me go through the trials and tribulations that are involved to do these things. I've done them in the past, and I'm going to do them again. So I do have some experience. Watch, learn, and do. Make sure you subscribe, and you'll be first to catch when those videos hit YouTube. Let's get into our bonus. Now, this is where the magic comes in. And when I said this is a good bonus, it's going to sound so simple, but it's so profound that this is, like I said, where the magic is. Skill stacking is only so good if you continue to skill stack. So what's happening is you're stopping and you're going back to step one, which was look at what your next step is going to be. when I was in being a systems guy, I kind of reached the pinnacle of my career. I was multi-certified. I was a CTO, like a chief technical officer for a company. I had done a lot of cool things. I was earning about $120,000, like probably today's money, $130,000, $140,000. But I felt that I'd hit that glass ceiling, and I still felt that something was out of place. About 10 years ago, when I hit 50, I realized that I had forgone my absolute dream in life, and that was to become a programmer. Now, the funny thing was, I have done programming, and I decided I'm gonna go full hog into this. I'm gonna learn what I need to learn. So that's what I did. I went and got my certifications. I took a year off. I had the money from the product I'd built before. I was able to go and take a 1-year boot camp and really go 100% into it and literally shift my direction completely. Now, did it eradicate or invalidate everything I've learned? No, absolutely not. A lot of the things I learned as a systems guy were skills that I could stack upon as a developer. And it gave me a lot of power, gave me a lot of insight. It gave me a lot of insight. Now, even as a CTO, did it invalidate that? No, absolutely not. I knew how to communicate and work with people. So now, when I entered the programming realm, I became a senior developer very quickly because I had already done a lot of skill stacking. Now, here's the interesting thing. The higher up the food chain you go, the more you can earn and the easier it gets. It's kind of funny. You see some people and you go, geez, this guy doesn't do anything and he earns $1 million a year. What's going on here? He earns it for a reason. He earns it because he has the ability to take responsibility for the position he's in, just as I can take responsibility for the position I'm in. So I have learned how to skill stack. I have learned how to go through all these steps, and if you need to, go through this video again and learn these steps. They are vitally important for you to have a hold of. And yes, you can earn $100,000, $200,000, $500,000. I further proof because I was told by somebody who's very close to me that the profession that they're in, they do it because of the love of doing it. It's the profession that they're in. I'm not going to expose any more than that because I want to keep their confidentiality. And I told them to their face that it was hogwash. I told them that they have bought the wrong soup and they got to return it. It's the wrong story and it's time to rewrite the story. And I started teaching them how to do all the things that I've talked about in this video and how to redefine themselves and how to relook and look at the next step and skill stack and learn how to earn more doing less, etc., etc., etc. Now this person is in their 20s. So it's not like they've been living for 50 or 60 years. They're in their 20s. And they're earning over $200,000 a year. Yep, you heard me right. So yes, you can do this. I believe in you, but you have to believe in you too, and that's the important point. Frank Thomas here. Make sure you jump over and check out my fear video. It's a good video to watch. It really fits well with this one. It's one I've just recently put out, so I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, and you'll see a link here on the page right now. We'll talk to you then, and we'll see you there if you decide to go watch that video. Cheers.